Mental Health Awareness Month and social justice. Let's get into it.
It's you and
So, this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we need to think about the social justice issues that plague the disability community and mental health in general, because not enough people in the disability community focus on social justice and fighting for the political or social justice issues that plague the disability community. And I think a lot of this comes down to that our psychotherapists and our other, therapists don't want us engaging in it because it ends up being too stressful for some people within the community. And I can understand that because some people are not physically capable of dealing with this. And this is where we need allies to be able to help us to deal with this. Because some of these things are very, 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 very important. Particularly when we talk about the amount of people with schizophrenia who are in the prison system who are unjustly locked up. Or particularly when we talk about the fact that single payer healthcare would actually help everybody within the disability community as a whole. Very, very staunchly, especially when it comes to a lot of different things. When it comes to getting your medications, when it comes to seeing your doctors. And it's not just those particular things, it's that we also should be thinking about expanding Medicare to become a type of insurance that pays for multiple different things, including things like life insurance, car insurance, and all these other factors, because there is discrimination that happens in multiple different other places, including independent living homes, independent places like nursing facilities, and so forth. And a lot of times people who are disabled cannot get into nursing facilities because they have age limits on them. And this is against the law, and it's just not, it doesn't need to exist. And the thing is, there doesn't need to be laws saying, well, oh, you have to have a family for this and this and this, because some people who have disabilities can't live with other people with disabilities. They have to live in apartment style places that have nursing type of care, because they can't live with other people with disabilities. Then you have particularly when I mean by this, I mean sometimes you have people who are Trump supporters, sometimes you have people that are Biden supporters, sometimes you have people that have certain types of conditions that will put them at ends meet with other types of people. And this is what I mean by this, because you have people that have different beliefs from different areas that will put them at ends meet with other people. And then of course you have different things that will put them in conflict with other people. Like I said, sometimes somebody might be a Biden supporter, somebody might be a Trump supporter, and there might be, whatever. And this is why putting them into an apartment in a nursing facility is much better. And this is why we need people who are allies to help us fight for this. The thing is, too many nursing facilities do not allow people that are over 65, people that are under 65, I meant to say, to be in a nursing facility. And unless you have children, and even then they discriminate against these people. And the law says you have to have children to be in a nursing facility, which is bullshit as it is, because obviously many people with disabilities can live on their own. It's not to say that everyone who has disabilities can live on their own, but most of them can. And then, of course, you have the car insurance issue. Most people with disabilities cannot pay car insurance. They're not capable of paying car insurance because they don't have the financial stability to pay car insurance, or the financial capability to do that. Some of them don't have the financial capability to own a car. And in some states like Louisiana, in order to own a car or to have a driver's license, you have to have car insurance. And this is a big problem because most people with disabilities can't afford car insurance. So if you have a government sort of car insurance for disabled people, then they don't have to pay car insurance. It's going through the state, and it goes through the taxpayers. So, and I know some people are going to say, well, eventually it will come back to them because it goes to the taxpayers. Well, no, then you don't understand tax brackets. And that's another video for another day. But the thing is that it would go to the taxpayers, and of course they would get a driver's license because it's paid for, because the driver's insurance would be paid for through government insurance through Medicare. And that is something I've talked about before, that Medicare should be able to pay for driver's insurance for disabled drivers. And that I've also said that Medicare should be a form of life insurance as well, not just a form of medical insurance. And I think people should fight for this. I know some people are going to say that are conservative that, well, you shouldn't be dependent upon the government. Well, fuck that. No, under the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, the government should be supportive of actual citizens of its own country. So, yeah, this is a governed right to its disabled citizens. So, yes, it should be something that is governed to us who are disabled. The thing is, the other thing with the prison system, like I said, people with psychiatric disabilities don't need to be in prison. They need to be in a hospital. Because this all comes back down to insurance. It all comes back down to not being able to pay for your Medicare. It all comes back down to not being able to get your prescriptions because of the big pharma and all that stuff. Having to pay $800 for drugs, $900 for drugs, $4,000 for drugs. It all comes back down to that. It also comes back down to police officers pulling over black people who have schizophrenia, who just got their drugs from the pharmacy, who also have a BB gun that they picked up for their son's birthday, the next day. Yeah, but my camera cut out. But yeah, that's literally what it comes down to. They search the car, they find a bag of drugs that they claim is stolen. It's pharmaceutical drugs with the title and the name of the person who drives the car, and then they find a BB gun and they say, well, oh nope, that's a firearm, and of course the BB gun is for the child of the person who drives the car, and then they say, well, no, that's 924C, 5 years prison sentence because you have stolen medications that, of course, was prescribed to the person who was driving the car. And that's often how a lot of black people end up in prison, is, just because of bullshit like that. Because of, because they end up finding prescription drugs that they then say are stolen, and then they end up finding shit like this, and they end up saying, well, nope, boom, jail time. And that's not right. That's definitely not right. And that goes back into why we need police reform and so forth, because, nobody should be going to jail for that. And it's against the law to arrest somebody and give them a 924C just because they have a BB gun. And to be honest with you, if they have their fucking name on the title for the prescription medications, then you shouldn't be going to jail anyways. So that's literally what they say. You shouldn't be. But then we also have to think about too, there's a lot of ableism in the workforce. There's people who have disabilities are much less likely, to get a job. It's far harder if you have a disability to get a job. 51%, and this is from the National Center for Biotech Information, of employers do not want to hire a disabled person. Now, the thing is, they will claim that it's because of the person being, whatever, an insurance problem. Well, that's fucking ableist. It's fucking ableist to say that a disabled person is an insurance problem. And people know that, because no one should be an insurance problem. And that's a product of capitalism, to claim that somebody is an insurance problem. And we know that. Period. I don't care what the nature of the disorder is and all the other bullshit. It's an insurance problem to claim that somebody is an insurance problem. It's a capitalist problem, meant to say, to claim that somebody is an insurance problem. Excuse me. And it's a problem of the system that we have to claim that somebody is an insurance problem. And you should not be ever claiming that somebody is an insurance problem because of whatever reasons. Period. And all this stems back to, with employers, is that they don't want to hire somebody who's disabled. The majority of people who have a business believe that if you're disabled, that you should be locked up for the rest of your life in a hospital. They believe outdated information about psychiatric disabilities. They believe socially unacceptable beliefs. And they should be shamed for it. because it's not right to do so. You know what I mean? It's not right to have those beliefs. I don't give a fuck what people think about, this and this and this, whatever. The idea of claiming somebody is a insurance problem is a product of capitalism, period. It's a product of the system in which we live in, and that needs to be fixed. And it's sad, but that needs to happen. Because so many disabled people can work in the workforce. There are people with disabilities that have doctorate degrees. There are people with disabilities that work in that are in the NFL. They're playing as NFL players, as starting players in the NFL. There are people with disabilities, schizophrenia and this and that are working as neurologists. Stephen Hawking, who had ALS, worked for 40, 50 years, maybe more than that, with his disabilities as a doctor in physics or something. And, did some of the most amazing stuff in the world, in his field, and was fully capable of doing those things, even with ALS. So the idea that a disabled person cannot function in society is utter crap. And the idea that a disabled person should be locked up in a psychiatric hospital or in some other place where they should be put under restraints for the rest of their lives just because, your prejudices is bullshit. This idea that everybody who has a mental disability is some kind of Sarah Connor who always believes that the Terminators are coming after us is other crap, because most people with schizophrenia don't act like that. Period. You know what I mean? So that's not something that is common, in the world. And this is why, even to the National Center for Biotech Information, the majority of the majority, and I say this, of all of their losses and of all of their because you see, they have a lot of debt that they end up paying to the disabled community, and this is why they have these prejudices, because they get into a lot of lawsuits over this. It's because of lawsuits, because of their prejudices. They will claim that it's due to insurance issues, but no, it's not because of insurance issues. They claim the insurance issues, but the reason why they claim the insurance issues is because of the lawsuits. The insurance issues have to do with the lawsuits that they're getting into with the courts. Because you know why? They're not providing for the people with disabilities. You know why they're not providing for the people with disabilities? Because they don't want to provide for the people with disabilities. Because they don't believe they should be in the workforce. which is why we need to sit back and we need to say, we need to put restrictions on these people. We need to put more regulation on these people. We need to sit back and we need to make we need to make a law that makes it nearly impossible for them to fire people with disabilities to an extent, or make some kind of change to the ADA. And that's the other thing. The right to work laws need to go away, as they are a big part of the reason why people who have jobs are able to fire people with disabilities, is because they're abridging what we have left of the ADA. And the ADA as it is already weak as hell. And they are abridging the 14th Amendment. And in a sense, when you abridge the 14th Amendment, you're abridging Section 1, which says that the United States cannot enforce any law that abridges the rights and liberties of U.S. citizens. It can't be enforced by the state, by definition. So, these laws are not supposed to be enforced. They cannot be enforced by definition. So why the fuck are they being enforced? That's the question that we need to think about. These laws are not supposed to be enforced at all. These right to work laws should go away. They're hurting the disabled community so badly as it is when it comes to employment. And you see, this is why I say now, because you see, in a worker co-op, disabled employees would be prioritized. Because if you had disability and you work in a worker co-op, people would be more respectful of a disabled employee and would be treating disabled employees with way more respect and would be helping them more. Because they know they have a disability, because it's your duty to help. It's your moral grounds and moral duty to help somebody with a disability more than it is to do something else. It's a moral duty to help equalize the playing field for somebody with a disability, especially in the workforce, and make it easy for them to work and do their job, just as it is for them to live their life. This is why in a worker co-op, it's harder to fire, it's harder to get rid of a disabled person in a worker co-op than it is a regular person. Because in society, it's the same thing in society, you know, because a disabled person in society, people treat disabled people with way more respect because of what they have to go through and what they're having to face on a day-to-day issue. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody comes up and disrespects somebody who has a disability, it's heart-wrenching, but people are more likely to help somebody with a disability, which would make things a lot easier for that person with the disability, even though there's some consideration of ableism if they help them too much. But in a worker co-op, it's harder for that person because of that same thing it's harder for the person with the disability to be fired because more of the people within the co-op are going to help the person with the disability to do their job than just being left alone. And this is why advocating for worker co-ops is a big deal, because worker co-ops are more supportive of people with disabilities than they are than just regular workplaces. And this is why I would rather there be more worker co-ops. I would rather businesses be worker co-ops and worker owned more than be owned by single individuals. Because in a business that's owned by the workers, is democratically controlled, there's not going to be this type of bullshit. And it's going to be much more helpful to people with disabilities. And I think that's what we need to work for people with disabilities. So, if you liked what I am talking about, and if you like my channel, you can rate, comment, subscribe, and you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon. All the links are in the description down below. Thank you. And of course, peace out. Yeah. Fucking, I don't know hand signals. Thank you.